Oh, hi there. The works of J.R.R. Tolkien have a strange relationship with the former Soviet Union. Back in the day, anything that was deemed subversive to the message of the Communist Party was destroyed or censored by the Soviet government, resulting in movies, music, TV shows, and books either being suppressed or modified, including the works of Tolkien. The Soviet censors believed his most popular series, The Lord of the Rings, contained a hidden allegory of conflict between the individualist West and the totalitarian communist East. Pretty funny considering that other interpretations say the Shire promotes communism. At the same time, Russian literature was largely devoid of the fantasy genre, making his books immensely popular. In the 60s, Tolkien's books were translated into Russian, but were squashed by the Soviet government. Even The Hobbit wasn't officially published in the region until 1976. But by the 70s, unofficial, handwritten translations of The Lord of the Rings made their way across the Soviet Union through illegal underground means at great risk to everyone involved. The first book in the series, The Fellowship of the Ring, was allowed into the country in 1982, as it was seen as the least, quote, ideologically dangerous of the trilogy. But this version was still heavily abridged due to government censorship. Until the fall of the Soviet Union, this was the only book of the trilogy readily available in the region. And despite the censors, Tolkien's work remained popular in the Soviet Union, even when abridged, leading to a Soviet TV adaptation of The Hobbit in 1985. This take on the book was little more than a stage play, and even then they had to cut corners, removing trolls and characters like Elrond and Beorn. And for some reason they gave this a ridiculously long name. The TV movie was called The Fabulous Journey of Mr. Bilbo Baggins, the Hobbit, across the wild land, through the dark forest, beyond the misty mountains, there and back again. This comrade Hobbit was made on a small budget, but they clearly gave the movie the best they could. It's kind of charming. This adaptation was a hit and aired for years, and has since been well preserved. But the country's next attempt to adapt Middle-earth to TV wouldn't be so lucky. In 1991, a group of theater actors got together under the direction of Natalia Serebryakova to make a TV adaptation of The Fellowship of the Rings, titled Khraniteli, roughly translating to Guardians or Keepers, to air on Leningrad TV. The movie script was written by the director based on the 1982 abridged translation. The teleplay was made with basically no budget, using costumes from different stage productions and whatever they could find. Most other TV adaptations at the time in this area were simply televised plays. But Natalia Serebryakova wanted to take things a step further, making extensive use of special effects that were completely unheard of on TV productions at the time. When the movie was finished, it was split into two parts, airing a day apart on April 13th and the 14th in 1991. And if you know your history, you might know that 1991 wasn't exactly the best year for the Soviet Union. Because the country was collapsing, state funding was cut, and as a result, the Soviet Union's The Fellowship of the Ring only aired once across those 2 days in a single city, Leningrad, on Leningrad TV. The Soviet Union folded on December 26, 91. Leningrad became St. Petersburg, Leningrad TV became 5 TV, and Khraniteli never aired again. And some things that should not have been forgotten were lost. History became legend, legend became myth, and for 30 years, Khraniteli passed out of all knowledge. But then, something happened that Khraniteli did not intend. It was picked up by the most unlikely creature imaginable, an employee of 5 TV. Out of nowhere, on March 30th, 2021, an employee at 5 TV stumbled upon Khraniteli in the network's archives and subsequently uploaded it to YouTube. The discovery reached mainstream recognition on April 5th, 2021, when the BBC released an article on the discovery, leading to the video racking up millions of views. And for good reason, the movie is nuts. There's currently no English dub, but I think the visuals speak for themselves. I don't even know where to start. It feels like a community theater production or a soap opera. Like some scenes have this soft focus that looks like they smeared petroleum jelly on the lens. And there are just so many oddities. Some of the hobbits have 4 eyebrows for some reason. Mordor is just a regular castle. Legolas is played by the director's daughter. The eagle that saves Gandalf looks like something out of a Saturday Night Live skit. And the opening song is just insane. It serves as the prologue, explaining how the rings were made and all that. And this song, along with the entire soundtrack, was performed by the Russian rock band Aquarium, composed by the band member Andrei Romanoff, who also plays the narrator. This band is actually actually pretty popular in Russia, and they might be the most famous individuals in the movie, aside from maybe Elena Solovey, who played Galadriel. She's appeared in a few episodes of The Sopranos, and the movies The Immigrant, We Own the Night, and The Lost World of Z. Each scene in the movie just lasts forever, and there are basically only 4 types of shots. Scenes that look like a stage play, characters looking directly into the camera, and these beautiful high-definition close-ups of the ring that look like they're shot on a different camera. And scenes with green screen. Oh, the green screen. These composite shots are just the worst I have ever seen. I honestly cannot think of a single movie with worse, less convincing special effects. And on top of that, so many scenes have a hard zoom on these effects that make them look even worse. But I do have to admit, I have no idea how they could have achieved these effects in the early 90s with no budget. Despite these budget issues and having to make changes like not showing the Balrog, this community theater looking adaptation in some ways is more accurate to the book than Peter Jackson's version, most notably by including the frequently overlooked Tom Bombadil. The character and his various scenes were infamously left out of Jackson's trilogy because they're pretty long and don't really further the plot. But for some reason, Tom Bombadil and his wife Goldberry are giant, another effect achieved with horrendous special effects. And I don't know what's up with this. I don't remember these characters being giant. Like, Gandalf's meant to be taller than Tom Bombadil, but they don't attempt to make him look bigger than the hobbits. So why even bother going through the effort at this point? Maybe this is just a detail from the Russian translation I don't know about. In the days following this amazing discovery, various publications were able to shed some light on how the movie was made. Variety was able to get in touch with a few of the actors who made the movie 30 years ago. The actors who played Frodo, Bilbo, Merry, and Tom Bombadil are still acting in Russia, and some even still keep in touch. The now 89-year-old actor who played Bilbo Baggins, Gregory Still, said, "It was a very, very hard time when we were making the movie. People were more focused on the changes in government than any show. We had almost no budget, no costumes, and almost no time. I was pleasantly surprised we were able to do so much with so little." Many of the actors seem to look back on their time working on the movie fondly, and it seems like it's mostly because it's a wonder this thing could be finished at all. The actor who played Mary, Sergei Shelgunov, recalled, "We used everything that the TV station had to offer at the time. The backdrops, the cheap plastic props, the wigs, and the makeup. Everything was just what we could find for free. Frankly, it's a huge win that it looks as good as it does." Through these interviews, it became clear that the real issue wasn't money, but time. Setup, rehearsals, and filming all had to be done in 3-hour chunks in between their morning and evening performances at their main theater jobs. The team would rehearse for about an hour, then jump slapdash into shooting huge chunks right away with almost no retakes. But the most spectacular detail that makes all of the movie's flaws make total sense, it kind of makes me feel bad for making fun of it so hard. Khraniteli was filmed in just over 9 hours over the course of less than a week for a nearly 2-hour-long movie. On top of that, the actors lived mostly on a state-sanctioned salary and worked on Khraniteli essentially for free, earning less than a quarter month's pay for their work. The idea of filming an entire Lord of the Rings movie in just 9 hours and having to set everything up, tear it down, rehearse, and film in a very short time frame in between their regular jobs, all in the backdrop of a collapsing superpower, it's not only a miracle that this movie was made, but unknowingly preserved for 30 years and then posted online, all for us to have a good laugh at what might be the most overambitious fan film of its time. Thank you so much for watching. This is a topic I've wanted to cover for a long time, and I thought that now the new Lord of the Rings TV show is out, now is a better time than any. Shout out to all my amazing Patreon supporters. This is Mike with All Things Lost. I'll see you soon.